All right, so this is 3.2 logs of school notes for the Wednesday, Thursday at school homework, which is 57 to 77 odds on page 216. We're just going to carry on after the first three videos. So I highlighted your homework here, and these are the properties that I need to know. And this first problem is doing a natural log of x. So on your calculator, you want to type in, oops, I don't want to do that one. That's your homework problem. We're going to come down here and do 58. We're going to do f of 0.74 because we're sticking 0.74 for that x. And that's going to equal 3 times the natural log. And then we're going to stick in there 0.74. So on your calculator, let me get the video camera over here. Bring it down here where we can see it. So on your calculator, I'm going to type in that part on the right there, the 3 natural logs. So I hit the number 3, and then right to the left of the 4, there's ln. So I'm going to hit this ln button that's right there. I'm going to push ln, which gives me ln on my calculator, and I type in 0.74, parenthesis, enter, and there's my answer, negative 0.903. So that's how you're going to get your ln button on your calculator. It's right to the left of negative 4. So the answer to this thing is, and we're going to round to 3 places, negative 0.903. So you ought to be able to do the rest of these. Coming down here, these problems go back to this property again where this says these are inverses. ln and e are inverses. So we talked about negative exponents before. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is bring this e up to the top and make that 2 a negative exponent. And that 1 is still here in front of that. 1 times e to the negative 2 is still e to the negative 2. And then these cancel out. So this whole thing equals negative 2. Doing this one right here, ln of e, they cancel out. Now there's a power of 1 there, even though it's not written, there's a 1 there. Those cancel out, so this is just 1 over pi. Again, these cancel out, this cancels out, so this is just 1 over e. Now you could say that that's e to the first and the bottom. This is fine for the answer for me, but I don't know, the back of the book might bring that 1 up to the top, be a negative exponent like this one. Coming down here, we're supposed to find the domain, the x-intercept, and the vertical asymptotes of the logarithmic functions. Okay, so we need to know that the natural log of 1 is 0 in this case. So that's going to be to help us find the x-intercept, because that's a y value of 1 when you have natural log of 1. So you got to know that all logarithms start off, you got to be thinking that your y-axis is your vertical asymptote, so it's greater than 0. The problem is this is a horizontal shift left 5, if you remember back from the day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at negative 5. This thing right here is now your horizontal asymptote. I'm sorry, vertical asymptote. I said horizontal, it should be vertical. So what I know is that my domain starts at negative 5. Also, natural log, the natural log of any number has to be greater than 0. So you're allowed to say that x plus 5 has to be greater than 0, which means x has to be greater than negative 5. So when you tell the domain for this, we do a parenthesis because negative 5 doesn't quit, and everything to the right works. Now, if I want to get an x-intercept, I know that the natural log of 1 equals, the natural log of 1 equals 0. So if I want this to be 1, I can say x plus 5 equals 1, which means x is negative 4. So in other words, if I stick negative 4 in here, negative 4 and 1 gives me the natural log of 1, which is 0 from this property up here. So that means this is the x-intercept at negative 4. So your x-intercept is negative 4. Or you could put the ordered pair negative 4, 0. Now, if you want to plug in more numbers, you can, but all logarithms come up along the vertical asymptote, and they hit and they start coming to the right. Okay? And I didn't write it down here, but it did say what is the vertical asymptote. So we should get the vertical asymptote is x equals -5. It's going to be that deal where this moved over. So there'd be a sketch of that graph, and you're going to do this one the same way. Now this one is a little different, so maybe we should do it because you have a negative x. So if you remember, when you get a negative x, that reflects the graph over the y-axis. So we're really going to kind of do it the same way. So we know that 3 minus x has to be greater than 0 because the domains are all greater than 0 for natural log. So if you add x over, that means 3 is greater than x. Now you probably want to flip that around and say x is less than 3. So if I were to graph this one, my vertical asymptote on this one is going to be x equals 3. So if I do this, I go over here to 1, 2, 3. There's a vertical asymptote here. But if you notice, it says all values of x are less than 3. So that means if you want to plug numbers in to the left of 3. This is my vertical asymptote because see, if I plug 2 in here, or let's do what we did here. We want to get 1 to get the x-intercept. So if I say 3 minus x equals 1, I subtract 3 over and I get negative x equals -2, and I divide by -1, x equals 2. So my x-intercept is x equals 2. Okay, so x equals 2 is my x-intercept right here. All right, so I hope we all remember that the last graph goes like this. Well, this negative reflects it over the y-axis. So now this one is going to be coming along like this and then come down along that vertical asymptote there. And that's going to be your graph for number, thank you. That's going to be your graph for 70. Coming up here, it says use a graphing utility to graph the function. Be sure there's an appropriate viewing window. So I'm going to go back and show you how to do this. So we're going to type, I'm only doing one of these. We could do this just like we did the last one. By the way, that second one, number 74, would have a vertical stretch of 3 and a vertical shift down 1. So I'm going to type in here, I'm going to go y equals and clear out the last problem we did from the last video. I'm going to type in natural log, which is to the left of the 4. And then in parentheses, I'm going to put x plus 2. Now this is a vertical shift left 2. So when I graph this, it's going to be moved left 2. Now this again looked like the one from the video earlier. It looks like it stops right there, but it really doesn't. There's a vertical asymptote at -2, but this graph keeps going down forever and gets closer and closer, but doesn't touch. It does not stop. If you draw that stopping on your test or quiz, you're going to miss a point. And if you want to see your chart or the ordered pairs, you hit second graph, and there's your ordered pairs again. You notice everything from -2 less is going to be an error because values can't be 0 or less inside a natural log. So here's ordered pairs. And again, these are rounded decimals. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the last one there because it's got a vertical shift down 1. So I'm going to clear this off and get 3 natural log x. Now, if you notice, every time I hit natural log, it gives me a parenthesis. The other one had x plus 2 in parentheses. This one has no parentheses, so I've got to, that tells me the x is the only thing in parentheses. And I put -1 and I hit graph. And see, this has moved the graph down 1. And that's the only difference. And again, if you want the table, you hit second graph, and there's your table. And if you look, 0 is the first value that doesn't work. So your domain would be 0 to infinity there. Okay, so that's how you graph the natural log graphs. Okay, we're going to go on with the last problems. Okay, these say use 1 to 1. So this is like all the rest of them. I hope you notice that you got natural log, natural log. So the natural log of a number equal to the natural log of the number means that these two numbers have to be identical. So x minus 7 has to equal 7. So you just drop off the natural logs, and x minus 7 equals 7. You add the 7 over, so x has to be 14. That would be the answer to 76. Same story here with this one. You got to drop off the natural logs, and x squared minus 2 is going to equal 23. Add the 2 over, and you're going to get x squared equals 25, and then you have to square root, which means you're supposed to put a plus or minus. And I hope you all know the square root of 25 is 5. So positive negative 5 would be the answer to that one. So that's the end of 3-2, and you're going to have a quiz on Friday. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time.